Today on the Surviving the Human Experience podcast, we are going to be taking a glimpse into the life of a parent charged with supporting their student athlete. Here with us today is author, coach, and educator, Miss Tiffany Bevins. She recently released her book, The Parent Playbook, Nurturing a Champion's Mindset, One Quarter at a Time. Ooh, I'm so excited. It just came in too, so you guys get a treat today. But before we jump in, I'd like to share a little bit more about Tiffany so our listeners know who you are. Tiffany is a passionate author, coach, and educator, and might I add, also entrepreneur, whose love for cultivating student athletes and love of the game are felt by all who cross her path. Tiffany is a former athlete, a high school basketball coach, a proud mom of two athletes of her own, author of The Parent Playbook, Nurturing a Champion's Mindset One Quarter at a Time, founder of Salty Self Affirming Love Transforms You, is the name of the acronym.
Yes.
How pouring into yourself is important so you can pour into others, shining God's light. Being the salt on the earth is what God said we should be. And she's also an educator in the Prince George's County, Maryland school system.
Yes.
And of course, because there's more, a wife, mother, daughter, and friend. So when she is not at school working with youth, you can find her in the gym or on the court. Her creative passions are displayed in her poetry and her journey as an author, and she enjoys spending time with family and friends and continuing to grow her faith. So welcome to the show, Tiffany.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. It's been a while. We've been trying to get this in motion, and I'm so glad we are here today. So we made it. So this is very exciting. And this is going to be a really insightful episode because today you're going to take us on a journey that's going to explore the life of a student athlete and share some insight and wisdom as to how we as parents can constructively underscore constructively and productively support our student athletes. So before we jump in, I want to give you an opportunity to just get our listeners a little more acquainted with you. So if you'd just like to share a little bit more about your journey and who is Tiffany Bevins?
All right. Again, thank you so much for having me. You have shared a lot about who I am, and I always like answering this question because, of course, we look at the surface. What you do for a living, who you
Yes.
are with the people who see you, who they think you are. But as I dove into this question and really thought about it, I definitely want to make sure everybody knows I'm growing.
Mhm.
Tiffany Bevins is growing. And
Mm.
I'm growing in significant ways of changing my mindset, my thought process, my energy, how I display things. So, being that part of the woman that I am, I absolutely love the journey that I'm on. Writing down the journey of the thought process of who I was to where I'm going and the growth process. I also like to allow people to understand that I'm a person who fasts, who prays,
Mhm.
who quiets her mind,
Mm.
right? Which this
Mm.
is something different, totally different for me. And I
Yeah.
love it. And I also am a person that God gave a gift to, and I'm learning to use that gift more and more. So
Mm.
besides all the great things, the mom, the wife, the
Yeah.
coach, the friend, I am growing. And I definitely like to say, not only am I growing in myself, but I'm growing and helping others grow.
Mm. That was beautifully said.
Thank
And
you.
I think that's so important to share because people do look at the surface and they look at the normal questions. What do you do for a living? Who are you?
All right.
And getting to really know somebody at the soul level is such a different experience, finding the essence of the person. So thank you for sharing that with us. I
You're
do
welcome.
appreciate that.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
All right. So let's introduce Tiffany, the author, because you have so many hats here. First, I want to take a moment to congratulate you. This is a
Thank you.
huge, huge moment. Yes. So you did it.
Well, I want to thank you because you helped me through this complete
Oh,
journey of growth. I'm about to change my headphones. I'm sorry.
no, you're
I'm
perfectly
dying.
fine. You're
Hold on.
perfectly fine. Yeah, no, you are perfectly fine. Well, as you do that, I'll continue on here. I'm just really excited for you because I know you've poured your heart and soul into this book and it's going to help so many. This is just the beginning of the work that you're going to be doing in this space. This is the introduction. There's so much more to come. And when we last spoke, you had decided that you were going to take the next step to increase visibility of the impact of a parent's role on their student athletes' experience and development. And you've seen it all when it comes to parent behavior, student behavior, expectations, disappointments, pressures, all of it. And you recently embarked upon that passion project to create your book, The Parent Playbook, Nurturing a Champion's Mindset One Quarter at a Time. And I remember we had so many conversations about this book. And I'm like, come on, girl, you got to get it done. Like, people need this, right? I was a parent of an athlete. So I'm sitting here going, can we finish it before Maya graduates? And so here we are. You got it done. And I'm super excited. But I would like for you to take us on that journey and just kind of share what sparked you to write this book. Like, was there a defining moment? Like, what happened?
I love, oh my gosh, every time I think about the spark, it
Hmm.
amazes me every time. Of course, I'm supporting one of my former athletes' daughter. She's playing basketball, 10 years old, second season, and we're in the gym that's very echoey and loud, right? And we're doing what we do. We cheer, we're talking, laughing, screaming, clapping.
Hmm.
And I am definitely that person, loud, and everybody hears me. And it was like I was in this bubble. A young lady was at the free throw line, and everybody, screaming and yelling, and miss it, banging on the bleachers, clapping their
Hmm.
hands, and the parent is like, "Come on, make the basket." All before the official gives the free throw shooter the ball. So I felt this quietness come over me with all the noise. And I was like, oh my gosh, what possibly could be going through this young lady's mind while the coach is trying to tell all the other players, don't move if you get the rebound, all of the
Hmm.
things that you're supposed to do. And I felt so bad for the child. And because I am a social, emotional learning and flourishing coach, the emotions are really important, the feelings that the child is feeling. And it took me back. And I had to quiet myself and I had to really think about what is happening and how can we support the young lady without kind of defeating the young lady all before she even gets the ball. And
Hmm.
that was the defining moment. And I was like, this is crazy. And I was like, gut punch to myself. I'm doing this and I'm allowing this emotion or this feeling to help inputting into this child.
Hmm.
And talking to the mother at the time, I was like, how often do they practice? She's like,
Hmm.
twice a week for an hour and a half. And I'm like, and everybody's screaming all this terminology, and the girls are just like, I only know to do 5 things. So that was
Right.
the defining moment, and that's what sparked the book. The
Well,
conversation. That's what sparked the conversation, and the conversation
hmm.
then sparked the book. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Wow. All right. So, what was that defining moment when you realized it was no longer a thought, right? So you had that one. You're sitting there in the gym. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Something has to be done. But
Mm,
then you moved from that divinely led plan to, I have to put this into action. So,
yes.
what was that space like? When did that happen?
My homegrown Amaker, this is like my ace, right? She had a book called Civility in Sports about the culture of the
Mm-hmm.
athletic arena. And we were sitting around her table and we were talking, and I was telling her about the situation. And then as we're talking, we're like brainstorming like all the things as educators we see. Then her children were also athletes. So we're asking them, like, how did it make you feel when all of the people were screaming and yelling? And then they told us. And then I called my kids like, hey, how did it make you feel? And at that moment I said, this is something. We have to share this information with parents
Mm-hmm.
to allow them to understand the impact that we're putting on our students or our athletes because of all the screaming and yelling and the emotional or emotionless impact that we actually are portraying to the students. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I said, I'm going to write. I'm going to use the things that God had given me to do and use this space because I am also because I was in all of the aspects. I was an athlete. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
coach. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
parent. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
parent of athletes. I'm an athletic administrator, certified athletic administrator. So all of these things are happening. I'm a social, emotional learning and flourishing coach. I'm an educator. Like all of these things. And I'm like, how didn't I see this before?
Yes.
And that's what
Full circle.
was like, let's do this and get the word out to everybody else. Yep.
Ooh, yeah, it was such a full circle moment for you. It's like
Yes.
that was all the foundation and the prep work to get you
Yes.
where you're going to be and speak in this space. I love it. Ooh. All right, let's jump into the book, Parent Playbook, Nurturing a Champion's Mindset One Quarter at a Time. I want to have you talk a little bit more about the title. What's the
Okay.
meaning behind the title? How did you come up with it?
So the title was initially sports and mind are all intertwined, right?
Okay.
That was my immediately thought process of the title. I
Hmm.
prayed about it. I looked at it, and it was the title for. To be honest with you, I was doing this project for 2 years since 2023,
Hmm.
and it didn't sit well with me after about a year.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, Lord, just give me a title. Lord, give me a title. I'm not an AI person. I'm going to get there. Don't judge me, guys. But
I'm
I'm
with
not.
you. I'm with you. I'm the same way.
And as my homegirl was like, well, just try, and so I put some things about my thought process, and all of these titles all of these words started popping up. And the nurturing a champion's mindset was in different spaces.
Okay.
So then I combined it, but I felt like, okay, this was it, because nurturing, we have the opportunity to grow and develop, right? We nurture ourselves, we nurture, what we put into our body, we nurture our children, we nurture plants, we nurture so many things, right? So
Yes.
nurturing is an opportunity for growth. And as you heard earlier when I said I'm in a growing process, so everything is a growth process. And then champion, I thought when you talk about champion, you talk about winning. And when you think about a champion, you automatically think about sports.
Mm-hmm.
However, I feel like the champion is the person who wins, the successful person, the person who could fall and get back up, the
Mm-hmm.
person who has the opportunity to look and say, I was here and now I'm here. They had to really work hard at things. Nothing really typically comes easy for a champion, because you have to nurture the champion in order for the champion to have a winning mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to mindset. And so in the mindset space, one of my favorite verses in the Bible, Proverbs 4:23, be careful what you think, because your thoughts can really run your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a thought process. You can change your thoughts. You can change your thinking. Just because something comes into your mind, that does not mean you have to think it, right?
Yeah.
How can you put that rigid thought into a positive perspective? And so the mindset of nurturing our champions, which are athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And changing their mindset of being a winner, and winning does not mean to define them from a win and a loss in the sports arena, but the successful winning in the life arena. And
Mm-hmm.
then the one quarter at a time, of course, is playing words. It's
Yeah.
talking about, the growth one quarter at a time. This is a 5-chapter book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within the chapters, the first chapter is 3 to 6, second is 7 to 10, then 11 to 14, 15 to 18 is the fourth quarter. That's the quarters. And then the last quarter is overtime, which is 18 plus. Now what? So the one quarter at a time is, it's a growing process. And within the growth process of the book, what I love is I talk about the growth of the mind, the body,
Mm-hmm.
the thought processes, all the things that a 3-year-old does not think like a 13-year-old,
Right.
right?
Right.
Just like an 18-year-old doesn't think like a 30-year-old. So
Mm-hmm.
it's also growing in that space. So that is how I came up with the title.
Ooh. I love it. I always love to hear the story behind the title because people just grab a book and they're like, oh, it's a catchy title. But not many take the time to understand the thought process and how important the title is. There's always so
Mm-hmm.
much. There's a story behind each title, and I think that's really important to share. So tell us, who was this book created for?
Parents of athletes, typically, right? Just parents
Okay.
of athletes, the guardians of athletes, anybody who is pouring into athletes, the supporter of the athlete. This
Mhm.
book was designed for them. So coaches as well. But I think about the parent, because the parent is the first person the child is intertwined with, right? This is the first person who's nurturing the child, the
Mhm.
athlete. So primarily for the parents, and then anybody who supports the student, and then the athlete has some impact. So when they read the book, then I
Mhm.
feel like if the athlete reads the book, then they can say, wow, you heard me.
Mhm.
And so for them, it's like I've been seen,
Mhm.
because now somebody else is understanding my thought process and what's going
Mhm.
through me at this moment. But primarily for parents, because I want us to understand how impactful we are, whether
Mhm.
a negative impact or a positive impact on our athletes in particular. Of course, because we're
Mhm.
talking about athletes, this is for all children. I mean, we want to be impactful for all children, but in this specific realm, we're talking about parents of athletes specifically.
Perfect. Perfect. So let's talk about personal connection. You've poured your heart and soul into this book. Like this has been a labor of love, and I know we've talked about it many times.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
it's really personal to you. So can you talk to us a little bit about what this book means on a personal level to you, and then also how do you see it impacting others?
Okay, so the impact, first and foremost, like I said, I gut punch myself, right? As I sat in the gym, I had to quiet myself.
Mhm.
And then I had to really look and say, wow, what are my children going through? So when asking, this book meant to me that I was able to then have a different conversation with my children, have some
Mhm.
kind of communication that I didn't think that I thought I was actually having, but in essence I really wasn't having, right? So
Mhm.
the heaviness that I was impacting, putting on my children, which I not even think like I'm trying to make them better. You know,
Right,
I'm an
right.
athlete, I'm a coach, I
Mhm.
want you to be better. But in essence, I wasn't doing it. And I
Mm.
think the meaning was, I want most parents and all parents and coaches to feel like the athlete is seen.
Okay.
Because as growing up, we're seen and not heard. But the athlete needs to be seen and heard, and understanding that all behavior is a form of communication,
Mhm.
verbal communication, nonverbal communication. And I
Mhm.
think it's really important for us to understand that and kind of renew our mindsets.
Mhm.
And just because we were taught that way, or and I turned out to be okay, doesn't mean that it's okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
And not being okay is okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot of taboo things that the way we grew up, we're instilling in our children, you know. And then we try to tell our children how they should feel versus hearing how they do feel.
Mhm.
So our children tend to put this
Trauma.
inside like,
Mhm.
they don't want to hear it, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to give it. But we
Right.
need to hear them. And I think that's what it really meant to me for opening up and allowing people, children, to understand that they have feelings, and the parents to understand that they should be heard
Mm.
and absorbed. Yep.
And it's
Yeah.
so important. And I mean, just sitting through three kids, different sports, soccer, basketball, kind of went through the different gamuts, just looking at, and it was amazing to me, especially basketball. Basketball is intense. Basketball and football are, I mean, all sports are intense, but Lord have mercy. You get into that
Mm-hmm.
gym and the echoing. I mean, at least in football, you're outside, so the echoing
Right.
isn't the same, but I would look at the players and I would be stressed out for them because it was
Mm-hmm.
like you're just a number on that court. And people want to see that scoreboard go up. And all of a sudden there's this disconnect between that is a human being on that court. Yes, maybe they missed the shot. It happens. It
It
happens to
happened.
everybody. Never really thinking about, as you were sharing, the pressures and the stress that are going through the individual's mind. I know my daughter used to tell me, I'm like, how do you play with all that nonsense? Like that would stress me. I'm stressed out and I'm in the actual bleachers. And she would say, I just don't hear it. I tune it out. And I thought, isn't that so sad? Because wouldn't you want to hear people cheering for you or
Right.
cheering you on? But then there's such negativity also
Yep.
happening. And there's this complete confusion of energy in this room because you've got this, if your team has more people there, they're going to cheer louder. If the other team
Yep.
has more, so you're not sure if you're getting more negative or positive. You got 2 ears. You're trying to hear the coach, like you said. You're trying to hear your teammates. Your parents are screaming at you, right? And you're thinking, I got to ride
Exactly.
home. I got to ride home with them. So I got to figure out which one to listen to. Talk about chaos. How you can even focus on a game is beyond me at that point. But anyways, that's just my little rant. So let's talk about the parent and student dynamic. So while writing the book, you interviewed many student athletes to gain a better understanding of their perspective and have a collection of experiences to incorporate in your work. What were some of the common themes and trends that you observed throughout that process?
Well, first of all, I want you to talk when I like the fact that you talked about the car ride,
Mm.
because
Oh yeah,
the car
take us
ride is
back.
in it's in my book. The car ride there, and then the car ride home. And within
Mm.
my book, I'm like, you know what? Sometimes we have to be quiet and let them start talking. And
Mm-hmm.
if they don't want to talk about the game, it's okay. I
Mm-hmm.
was not that parent. I wanted to talk
Mm-hmm.
about it, right?
Okay. I
But
did
it's
the opposite.
okay.
I got in the car and I was quiet. I was like, she's gonna talk if she wants to, and if she doesn't,
Right.
we're just gonna go
And
home and eat dinner.
the kid is like, the car ride there, already my parents have told me what they expect. And then the
Mm-hmm.
coach, when I get there, and then so the car ride home was something. But one of the common themes that was displayed through this book is a lot of people said their parents were very supportive, which I thought that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
then a lot of the common theme was that my parents want to give their input, and their input wasn't always wanted at that moment. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't give me space to properly digest everything that happened, good or bad. Good
Mm-hmm.
or bad.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't give me that space. They didn't allow me to want to have the energy to be excited about it, right?
Right.
And they
Mm-hmm.
didn't give me the energy to say I was disappointed in myself or
Mm.
my team or how they felt. They just didn't give me the energy. So a lot of the common theme was the disconnect. But most importantly, this was so impactful. When you read the book and you hear the student athlete stories, they went back to when they were a certain age
Okay.
and remember that moment. And then that moment is still with them at 19,
Mm.
20, 30, 35. I remember when my dad or my mom did this and said this, and
Mm-hmm.
I keep that. I shared the story. It was a young man who plays college basketball right now. He's 20 years old. He was 7 years old and he got hurt on the football field.
Mm.
And his dad said, "You're ready to go back and tell the coach." He said he went to him 3 times. And 3 times he never told the coach because he was not ready.
Mm-hmm.
He said he got in trouble when he got home. He said, so now at the time when I interviewed him, he was 19, but he's 20. I
Mm-hmm.
remember that. So now my thing is, if I get hurt in the game or on the practice, what is my dad going to think? So I won't tell the
Mm-hmm.
coach. We don't think about things like that, what we say when
Right.
they are that young, but they're
Mm-hmm.
remembering those things just like we remember things. We flash back and we think about things,
Yes.
the same
Mm-hmm.
exact thing. And that was a common thread of, I remember when such and my parents did this or did not do this, and how it's
Mm.
impacting me today.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost imposing those limiting beliefs on the child. They
Mm-hmm.
just and they get stuck in that loop. And I mean, without going so deep into this, it becomes a trauma loop, is what it is. It really ends
Yeah.
up being a PTSD-ish type moment where they're just taken back, and so that's almost freezing them in
Mm-hmm.
time. Wow.
Yes.
So, were there any additional surprises or unexpected findings that you found in those interviews? Were there any things that just kind of stood out that you were like, wow, I didn't even think that was a thing?
Well, how they bottled their emotions up now as adults. They
Mm,
don't want to share things because they didn't feel like they were heard when they were younger.
mm-hmm,
That was very eye opener.
mm-hmm,
And but really not, because if you think about it, we suppress things too that we don't want to resurface, right?
yep,
But and then when you're talking about students at this age, they remember when because their parents couldn't show up, when they sent somebody else or when they didn't send anybody else,
mm,
right? So that was definitely a surprising moment. But the other one was when the parents wish their athletes, a lot of parents wish their athletes would have talked to them, or
mm,
their athlete wished that their parents would talk more and ask them questions when it was the appropriate time. So it's tricky. We're talking about ages, and
right.
at 6 years old, the question to my athlete should be different than my 16-year-old.
Mm-hmm,
But it's almost like as a parent, we forget when we were those ages. So within the book, which I love, is I'm giving this parent space to write, right? To
right.
reflect on themselves, asking like, what's your stat line? Have you
Mm,
fumbled the ball? Did you do a
mm,
false start, foot fault? Did you do a violation because these things were prohibited, or you actually dove in and thought about the things that you were actually saying to your child? So I give you an
mm,
opportunity to kind of get it out and write it down so you can see it. And we know a lot of therapists have you write because you need to release things. And we didn't
yes.
have the opportunity. I'm giving you the opportunity in the book to release, but to be honest with your release.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Because when I went through the book and I was like reading it like I wasn't the author,
right.
it
You were like,
was.
Just go pray. Let me go spend some time in prayer for a little bit.
Like, yeah, like I
Just for some
needed this.
forgiveness.
I needed this. So I do like the fact that the book gives you the opportunity to expand your thought process and expand your knowledge and expand your what you were given or not given
Mm-hmm.
back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those are the surprises, not really surprised, but some surprises. And then the unexpected, some relationships were restored
Ooh.
through some of the conversations because then I said, well, won't did you share this with your parent? And some of the other things the parent didn't want to receive it
Mm.
because the perception that they gave it was the way they intended it for it to happen just because the athlete didn't perceive it that way the
Mm-hmm.
parent
Mm-hmm.
would not like no that's not what I meant but they didn't receive what their athlete was telling them so
Yeah.
that was really my opening experience for me.
Mm.
Hmm.
In a perfect world, just thinking this through, you have coaches for the students, for the players, right? They should have like some mentorship or coaching for parents of athletes. And they honestly should because there's some interesting dynamics that happen, I think, in the parent space. And I know you've been there, I've been there. And, you've got other parents in the bleachers looking at you like your kid missed the ball, or how did they fumble, or what are you doing at home that they didn't score, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. Like, I'm not even on the court. Like, why are you looking at me,
Right.
right? So there's this little false peer pressure type situation that's, happening up in the bleachers with the parents. Then you've got parents who are vicariously playing through their players. So, maybe their career wasn't as great as an athlete. So now they're up in here like, this is my chance. It's going to be, little Johnny over here is going to get me what
Exactly.
I didn't achieve as a child myself. So now you've got all of these different things happening with the parent, which your journaling area is perfect for that because those are some of the repressed emotions that need to be addressed because half of the stuff that parents are, I'm sure it probably is half or more, imposing upon their student athlete is really their own unresolved stuff. It's not even
Hmm.
the kid. The kid didn't even get to talk. The kid is like, I'm just out here trying to have fun,
Right. That part.
And so yeah, so I think it's so incredibly important because nobody really prepares you to be the parent of an athlete.
Mm.
And so you're just, showing up as the parent like, okay, did I pack the snack? If they're little, did I pack the snack? Do they have their water? Do they have, their electrolytes? Do they have all
All
the
their
things they
equipment,
need, right?
right?
Did I take them to the doctors? Did I get the physical? Did I do all of those things? So it becomes very mechanical. But then some parents really take it to a different level where they think they're the coach, right? And so not understanding the various roles that are played in an athlete's life. Everybody has a position in the
Yeah.
game when you have an athlete and allowing those roles to happen. And why does it always have to be the first question is always if you miss the game, did you win or did you lose? Not
Did you win?
how
Did
did
you
you
lose?
play? How did you play? Did you improve from your last game? What's something that you could have done better? What's something you did really well? Nobody goes through those questions. It's all about did you win or lose, which completely just it takes away from the athlete's ability to evolve over time. But anyways,
Mhm.
had all those
It's all
thoughts.
in my book. I love it. I love it. I love
Yeah. I mean, that's
it.
why I'm so glad that you're using this gift because it's so needed. Because there's not much self-reflection. I don't believe there is. I'm sure if we could do a poll, but I'm quite certain there isn't much self-reflection
Mhm.
that goes on in the parent space when it comes to this topic. So
Yeah,
you're giving them that opportunity to self-reflect.
I
I
hope
love it.
so.
Yes. All right, so let's unpack some challenges. How
Okay.
important is the parent's role concerning the impact on their student athlete? You touched on it a little bit, but let's dive deeper.
All right. Well, of course, we know the parent role is extremely important. The conversation, the support. I'm always I love the fact that when a coach is coaching, I give my child to a coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like they're going to nurture them, they're going to try to make them better. But if I'm not supporting the coach because the coach doesn't have the same thought process and mindset I have, then
Mm.
our children hear this, right? So we have to
Mm-hmm.
understand that children are sponges, and we know what sponges do. They absorb, absorb, absorb. And not always when you rinse them out, everything doesn't come out from the absorption,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the absorption stays in there. So we have to be mindful of what we speak around our children, how we speak around them, about themselves, about the parent, about other parents, about other athletes, about the coach, because they
Mm-hmm.
are taking all of this in, and then allowing it to the thought process to allow them to see that because I am a sponge, because my parents may have thought this or didn't think this,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I should think this too, right? Or didn't give them an opportunity to see it for themselves. Because sometimes you have
Mm-hmm.
to see things for yourself, right? So
Absolutely.
I think we have to be really impactful. It's really important that the parent understand that everything that we talk about, everything that they hear, our energy, the way our body language is, the words that we speak is transferable,
Mm-hmm.
and our kids going to take it and they're going to use it. And then
Mm-hmm.
they're going to use it in which way they think they it's intended to should have been used. So we have to be
Mm-hmm.
really mindful of that. I think that's the most important thing.
What would you say some of the obstacles are that the parents and the players are facing in this dynamic?
I'm seeing other people's perspective.
Hmm.
The parent to see what the kid was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
the athlete to think what the parent was seeking, right? The
Yeah.
perspective is really important. Um, the other obstacle is holding things and what to say and what not to say, and when to say it and when not to say it, and
Mm.
why are we saying it. I think
Mm.
that is really important, an obstacle for me to hold my tongue,
Mm-hmm.
because right now I don't need to voice my opinion,
Right.
which
Right.
was very tough and challenging for Tiffany Bevins
Uh-huh.
because I wanted to voice my opinion. Um,
Oh.
and to allow it to be okay if it's
Mm-hmm.
not spoken.
Mm.
That should be really important. Um, if it doesn't need to be said, does it really need to be said? Someone
Right.
shared with me the other day, they seen a podcast. Does it need to be shared? Does it need to be shared right now? And
Mm.
when it is shared, do, can you receive what the other person got from what you share,
Right.
which is really important.
Really
Can you receive
important.
it? Yes. And the other obstacle is the child's discipline. Um, like in the book with the child's discipline, I say the coaches push. Some children see it as defeated, but most coaches is it's really endearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Endear the
Mm-hmm.
process. I'm not pushing you as a coach to try to make you better because I want to be mean to you. I'm
Right.
pushing you because I want to make you better to help you grow, right? So we have to understand as parents, we look at sometimes this athlete looks at the coach's push as defeated, right? And then the parents like, oh, you were doing such and such to my child. But really, a coach is there to nurture also.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see parents as this push as endearing because our kids need a push,
Mm.
period.
Yeah.
And that push is going to help them
Mm-hmm.
expand. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's some of
Mm.
the obstacles.
Makes sense. I'm tracking all of them. So, how would you say the coach's role plays into this discussion?
The same thing, nurturing, love my child, right? Allow them to try to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Don't always put them down and keep them there. We have to
Mm.
build them back up.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if my child comes to you with a situation, don't hold it against them later. Don't throw it
Mm-hmm.
back in their face later. You know, and so coaches have to have this impact as well. I would
Mm-hmm.
like to see the coach and the parent be on the same accord,
Mm.
because just like parents, we're going to not do the greatest thing for our child, although we think we're doing the greatest thing, right?
Right.
And we don't know that until later. The same exact thing for coach. We're human.
Mm-hmm.
We're human. As your thing says, surviving the human experience, right?
Yes.
We're
We're all
human
trying to
and
get
these are
there.
experience. We're trying to get there, and we're trying. It's not a book. It's nothing written on how to really parent. It's trial and error. And
Mm-hmm.
for the coaches to also understand that emotions and feelings are also being exhibited at the same time. So that's
Mm.
how a coach can help reflect in this book.
Yeah. Whew. Oh, I cannot. I'm just so excited. I'm gonna need you to send me some pictures with you with the book because I want to get it out on
Okay,
all of my
got you.
socials and all of the channels. So all of my
Yes,
listeners who are
yes,
parents of athletes or guardians of athletes, or maybe you're the grandma or grandpa of an athlete, I'm gonna need you
that
to get
part.
the book too because some of the grandparents gets a little rowdy in the stands. I'm not gonna
Yes,
lie. I'm like, oh
yes.
my goodness, this could be dangerous. So yeah, I need everybody to get copies of this book and really just understand the impact that they're having on the athletes. I mean, my goodness, we're supposed to be all providing support and love, and some of the things we're doing could be detrimental and destructive. So, ooh, all right. So let's talk about your message to the students. What are some tips and techniques that you can share with our listeners who are student athletes? Because we may have some listening today.
So I want our students to know that we need to reflect, we need to remember, and then we need to restore. Right?
Mhm,
Reflect on something that we did or didn't do, whether it was good or bad, and everybody always wants to go to the negative piece. And I try to
mhm,
always flip it over to the positive piece. All right. So we want to reflect on whatever it was. We want to remember it because if it was good, we want to continue to do it. Right. If it
mhm,
wasn't so good, we want to try to change it to make it better. And
mhm,
then we want to restore it. We want to change it, renew it. I always say I want the good to be better and the not so good to be in this position where it can be good, right? So
mhm,
we want to remember that being bold, courageous, your thoughts, that understand that they are still growing and it's
mhm,
okay, that their
mhm,
mistakes will not define them. Those are the things that we want to make sure that they understand, that pouring into themselves. On affirmations.
mhm.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm about to switch. It
Okay.
finally died. Sorry. I am big on affirmations. Affirmations is something that is important to me. Look in the mirror, speak over yourself,
Mm,
be in the energy and in the environment with other people who are like-minded,
mm,
right? I used to tell my students, and as a parent, we say we want your kids to be leaders. Be a leader, be a leader. I said, but guess what? Everybody's not born to be a leader.
mhm,
And then you have negative leaders and positive leaders. I always tell my children, if you are not a leader, it's okay. But when you follow people who are positive, moving in the direction of greatness, not gossiping, not downing people, not talking about people, redirecting the conversation. Bring your good energy is
mhm,
in store, and then look at yourself and say, I can do this. And
mhm.
I mean, if you come to my house, there's affirmations all over the place. I mean,
I
I'm
love
looking at
it.
my wall, like, you know, and speak. God said, ask, speak it out loud, right? So we have to remember these things because we also have to remember when we speak the other direction, the negative direction, also that is impactful too.
Power of
So
the tongue.
I want the students, the children to know that um, they are important. And it's so funny that you say this because I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to try to
It's
pull
coming in. There
it.
it is. Yes. Oh, I love
So
it.
this was my grateful jar 2025. And right now I'm sitting in my space of now taking my 2025 and reading all the reasons why I was grateful
Hmm.
and putting now my 2026, building my grateful jar for 2026.
Ooh, I love that.
And it's mind blowing every time I pull something out because I want to remember the good things because it's
Hmm.
easy to forget them. So that I think that's important.
Ooh, I
And
love
I
it.
gave a positivity drawer to all of my students, your daughter included, and they
I
would
was
say,
gonna
come to my
say.
office and pick their positivity, quotes out.
Uh-huh. I was gonna say
Yeah.
that looked very familiar when you pulled that out. And I definitely had a board in my house as well that
Mhm.
had all of the Post-its plastered on it. So yes, as soon as
Yep.
you pulled it up, you brought back memories. I said, yep, I remember that. That's Miss
Yep.
Bevins right there in action. She is in
Yep.
other people's houses too, filling up the walls with the positive. I
I
love it.
love it. I love it.
Yes. And it was so impactful for her too. So I'm not complaining at all. It was wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's talk about your message to the parents. What are some tips and techniques you can share with our listeners who are the parents of student athletes tuning in today?
Pretty much the same thing. I want to make sure that the parents reflect, remember, and restore as well. I think really what's important is life is a growing process. We grow, we learn. we're different than we were when we were 20. Well, we hopefully, if I'm 50, I want to be different than I was when I was
You want to
20
see
and
some
30 and 40, right?
progression. If
Right.
not, we got to change up some of those post-its you got going on and some of the things on the wall there.
That part. And like my shirt says, I'm perfectly imperfect and it's okay, right? I feel that we look at the internet and social media and we see all of these great things that are
Mm-hmm.
happening, but we forget that they endured a lot of things and may even been enduring them at this moment that these things are happening. So we want to I would like for parents to understand that growing is a thing and it's okay that you can change and change is powerful. Because I was definitely that person. I am who I am. I'm an acquired taste. I'm not for everybody, which I'm not. However, I was stuck in who I was
Yeah.
instead of saying, wow, although I am still an acquired taste, my growth can still be growing through other people, people pulling me along, me pulling other people along, and that is important. We all have that space. And the other thing is to be honest and truthful with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not truthful with yourself, I mean, who else can you be truthful with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are important in building that. So within my book, there's one thing I have is a social emotional learning wheel.
Okay.
And it's in black and white because I'm asking as you're reading this that you go and color in the emotions that you're having through your reading.
Oh, wow.
So it'll allow you to see and it has all kind and it's like a three-tier will, right? So it's not just
Mm-hmm.
happy, sad. It is really getting and diving into the emotions that you are feeling while you're reading this book. And there's going to be some great emotions. And then I'm going to step on your toes. And then I'm going to get in your business. And I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
dig through your heart and your soul. Not because I want to, because this is yours, but
Yeah.
because I feel like it benefited me. And then the people that vetted my book was like, oh my gosh, I needed
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm.
So just for you to see it, because I'm a visual person, I'm a visual learner. So if I see the impact that I'm having on myself,
Mm-hmm.
then to me, I can now internalize where I need to go. But if you
Mm.
don't want to see it, I don't know.
Yes. I love it. It's doing the shadow work. It's going in
Yes.
and really peeling the onion back and looking inside yourself and getting yourself right because you can't be right for your kids if you're showing up a hot, it's just not going to work.
People always say, I'm doing it for my kids. No, you have to do it for yourself first. That's why self-affirming love transforms
Mhm.
you. Then you can pour into think people appropriately. You can't pour from an empty cup, as they say.
That's very true.
Right. So
Whew.
yeah.
All right. So, what are some of those tips and techniques you're giving to my coaches that are listening today?
All right, some of the tips and technique. First, I do want to I have a short poem in the book. Of course,
Let's
it's
do
not a
it.
poetry book, but I am a poet.
I know you
And
are. So, let's go. I'm ready. I was hoping
it's
this would happen.
it's real quick, it's really short. I got this from I went to finish her book already, session, right? A 4-week session. Ashley Graham finished her book already, and then she pulled out three words, and the words were power, drum, and then I didn't put the other word in there because it didn't really kind of flow, but
Okay.
the power of the drum. Just because drums have power to be noisemakers doesn't mean they should be used as distractions. The power of drums' waves should soothe you, from air flowing through it, creating waves of sounds to move you. So, why would you want to be misguided from something allowing rhythm to sway, allows beats to be made, allows sounds to be heard with strength, with a major emphasis on those around you? Allow the power of your drum to have positive motivation so children can feel soothing vibrations, creating a mindfulness of a firm foundation. So
Mm,
we have to be our children's drum,
mm,
vibration, soothing, and allow
mm-hmm.
that power not to just be noisy
Yeah.
in the
Oof.
midst. Drums are loud, but they are powerful and they are bold and they are confident and they
Mm,
show up when the other music is kind of in the background.
mm-hmm.
So if you're that child's drum, don't just let it be noisy.
Let
Oof.
it be that bold and confident power.
Mhm.
So then everything else around it can kind of flow. So yeah, I put that in there. It had nothing to do with the book, but I thought it was really impactful.
It was. I felt
Yeah.
it when you were talking. I'm like, oh my goodness, that the message was very powerful. Thank you for taking the moment. I was hoping we were going to get some poetry from you.
That's a
So,
little bit, yeah. But so definitely for parents, also I think it's really important when you pour into yourself. It was something that I challenged myself to do, to read some impactful books, right? One was Adapt Her by Xanthia Ruddish.
mhm,
She is a phenomenal author. She's a phenomenal motivational speaker, educator, and she poured a lot into me. Another impact was the voice, Your Voice is Not for Sale, which is your
mhm.
book, right? I read that, and your book
Thank
is
you.
quoted in my book because
Oh,
it's so important that your voice isn't for sale. And it's some things that we have to understand, um, why we speak the way we speak. And
mm,
somebody should not be able to take our voice away from us, right?
mm,
And somebody shouldn't give us the opportunity to say, you should be saying these things. So I've poured into myself. Another book I put into my book, but this is a way for parents to start pouring into themselves. Push to Purpose by Latoya Maddox. She's telling you to
mm,
push yourself with a purpose. And then The
mhm,
Woman I'm Becoming, I'm reading right now by Tanya Stokes. These are the things that, as a parent and as a woman, that has been impactful for me.
mhm,
I watch podcasts, and I like fitness underscore expert 24 podcast. So I pour into myself positivity. When
mhm,
somebody wants to speak negative, I discredit it. So as a
mhm,
parent, I've learned that pouring into myself through other avenues and how
mhm,
people display things, share it. I listen to Joyce Myers every morning. She's so impactful. I love her. And so that's how I would tell the parents, I would give them, what are you putting into yourself? What are you
mhm,
allowing to be poured into you to come out?
mhm.
And how are
Oh,
you displaying those things? So yes, that's how I pour into myself. So I'm encouraging other parents to do the same. Reach for
yeah.
things that are going to be impactful and going to help change and identify the thought process of growth with them.
Mm, I'm blown away right now. There's so much there. Wow. Well, first of all, thank you. I'm honored that you
You're
read my
welcome.
book. So I that you
Yes.
threw me off with that. I did not know that. So thank you. I'm feeling all kinds of love. Love
Yes.
Dr. Reddish. We had her on the show as well
Yes.
to talk about the heart-led leader, and you introduced me. And yeah, absolutely. And I agree so much with what you said in the sense of knowing that you have to put the work into yourself. We're so focused on pushing these athletes and oh, you got to be you got to do this, you got to do that. Look in the mirror. What are you doing for yourself?
What are you doing for yourself? Yep.
You have to be doing the work for yourself. And I love that you brought in the readings, the podcast. There's so many ways that we can improve ourselves to become the best version of the parent that we can be. And honestly, even if your kids are grown and you miss the boat, it's okay. You
It's
can get it right
okay.
for your grandparent, your grandkids,
Yes.
right? And
Yes,
you can help your
absolutely.
kids along the way when they're having kids. So I don't think it's ever too late to jump in and, to get in the game here. So,
Right.
ooh. Oh my gosh. Well, we are coming to a close. Are there any additional things you want to add before we wrap up our episode today?
I want parents, athletes, coaches to remember to give grace, to
Mm,
show love, to allow open lines of communication for a rebuilding process. I want you to find your algorithms on social media to be more impactful than discrediting or downing other people.
mm,
I want your perspective to understand that your perspective is important, to dive into some things like the SEL Castle. Um, and I do want to read What to Expect from this book. And no, it's not a poem, but it's kind of formatted like a poem.
let's do it.
So it's what should you expect from this book? Words like empathy and sympathy will be used. Communication or lack thereof will be exposed. Courageous conversations and building relationships will happen. Open mindsets and reflections will be in the midst of everything. If elevation is a part of your vocabulary, this guided work journal will help balance your growth and your child's worth while opening your perspective, thoughts, and awareness to better insights, showing and telling your children you absolutely love and support them. So
Mm,
those are different things that you will find in my book. Again, the Parent Playbook, Nurturing a Champion's Mindset, one quarter at a time. And it's just showing the thought process of whomever is at the top. Your
mm-hmm,
child needs them. And if you look at the book, you have the rocks that are falling off are negative. So all the negative, the child is kicking the negativity and
mm-hmm.
building on the positive things that help them gain an opportunity for understanding and togetherness. You can find me on Salty LLC 33 at Gmail. And my IG is salty 33 underscore LLC on IG. And my book will be available on Amazon at the end of the month.
End of the month.
And if
Excellent.
at the end of the month, and if you email me, I can get you a copy, now because I have them on hand.
Everyone loves signed copies, so don't
Right.
worry, I'll be hitting you up for mine too.
The last thing I want to share, I did put this at the end of the book. It's really important. A motivational speaker once shared, and I'm sure many people have heard this. When you say yes to something, you say no to something else. Parents,
Mm.
I'm asking you to say yes to nurturing your champion one quarter at a time.
Ooh, we dropped the mic on that one. All right then. Well, that's one way to end the podcast. Well, thank you so
Okay.
much, Tiffany, for
Thank you
coming
so
on the
much.
show. And I'm just so excited for you. Again, congratulations. This is huge. And I'm looking forward to hearing about all of the different places y'all go and be speaking about this book and giving
Yes.
conferences and
Yes.
seminars and, being in all the big,
Parent workshops, parent
I can
workshops. I'm
totally see
definitely,
it.
yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
You'll
yes.
be
I
on
thank
tour.
you.
Mm-hmm. Well, for our listeners, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of the Surviving the Human Experience podcast. Can't even get my words out. You just took them out of me. Until next time, be well and stay blessed.